Hello everyone and welcome to this video on the Python programming language. So in this video I will be creating a stock market dashboard to show some charts and data on some stock. Now I am currently on my Windows computer and already have the Python programming language installed, and I will be using the PyCharm IDE to create the program. Now I have also installed the packages needed, which are Streamlit, Pandas, and PIL, so be sure to install those before you attempt to write this program. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that you're going to want to do is click on project, right click on project, and then click new, and then click on Python file. And let's give this Python file a name. So I'm going to call it stock web app and click OK. Now we are within that Python file and we can begin writing the code. So before I write any logic, I'm going to put a description and comments here so I know what this program is about in the future when I look back on it. So this is a stock market dashboard to show some charts and data on some stock. All right. Next, I'm going to import the libraries that I will be using throughout this program. So I'm going to import Streamlit as ST. Next, I'm going to import Pandas as PD. And from PIL, I'm going to import image. Okay. All right, now next I'm going to add a title and an image. So just type st.right and of course left parentheses and then 3 double quotes. And then I'm going to put the hashtag symbol or number sign symbol or pound sign symbol, whatever you call it. And I'm going to put the title here. So it's going to be stock market web application, and then I'm going to put a subtitle. I'm going to put visually show data on a stock and put exclamation mark, and the date range will be from January 2nd 2020 to August 4th 2020. Now, how do I know that? That's because I have the data sets that I plan on using throughout this program, and they're all right here. So let's take a look at the amzn.csv file, which is the file that contains stock data for Amazon. And we can see all the columns up here, and we can see that the start date is indeed January 2nd, 2020. And if we scroll all the way down, we can see that the end date is August 4th, 2020. And the same can be said for the other two files, which are tesla.csv. So we can see the start date there, and scroll down, we can see the end date is the same. And then we have information on Google stock. So the start date is here, and the end date is down here. Now, Google's parent company is called Alphabet, and that's going to play to what I plan on doing for this program a little bit later. So that's going to play into that. All right, so let's go back to the application where we're programming. And actually, what I plan on doing is I want to make this word visually. I want to make it bold so that when we start the application, this will be bolded and we can see that. So I'm going to put 2 stars here and 2 stars here, and that should do it. So now we have this bold lettering saying that this is a visual for looking at stock data. All right. Okay, so now I want to open the image. So I'm going to create a variable called image and set it equal to image.open. And then I need to give it the location of the image. So the image is right here. It's called stock underscore image.png. So I'm going to double click that. And this is what the image is going to look like. And I plan on using this. So let's go back to the program, and I'm going to right click on that file and then click on copy path and paste that here, and then change these slashes. All right, so I'm just going to kind of reverse the slashes, and that will tell me where that file is located. Okay, so that looks good. Let's go to the next line. So now I have the image, and now I want to display the image. So just type st.image and input the image variable. And I want to use the column width. So just type use underscore column underscore width and set it equal to true. All right. Now next I want to create a sidebar header. So just type st.sidebar.header. And this will be the header for the user input. So I'm going to put the label user input here. And speaking of user input, let me talk a little bit about that. So the plan is to have the user input a start date, a end date, and a stock symbol or stock ticker, and then the dashboard will adjust accordingly. It will adjust the data and charts accordingly. All right. So let's go ahead and create a function to get the user's input. So let's do that now. We're going to create a function to get the user's input. So just type def, and then I'm going to call this get underscore input. Okay. All right, so I'm going to create a variable called start underscore date. And I'm going to set this equal to st dot sidebar dot text underscore input. And we're going to give this text, or we're going to give this sidebar a label. So I'm going to call it start date. That will be the label. And then I want to give it some default value. So that will be the starting date for the stock that I have, for the stock data that I have. So that's 2020 01-02. Okay, that's how it is in the data set, and that's how we're going to format it here as well. All right, next I'm going to go ahead and highlight this and then copy it using Control C, and then come down and paste it 2 more times using Control V and just change a few things. So next I'm going to create a end underscore date variable, and we're going to change this label here to end date, and the end date will be on August 4th, 2020. All right. Next, I want to get the stock symbol. So I'm going to create a variable called stock underscore symbol, and I'm going to set it equal to the same thing here, but I'm going to call this stock symbol, and I'm going to default the stock symbol to AMZN. So it's going to be Amazon. All right. Next, I want to return these variables. So I'm going to return start underscore date. I'm going to return end underscore date, and I'm going to return stock symbol. All right, so now we're done with that function. Let's go ahead and create a function to get the company name like I had talked about earlier. So let's create a function to get the company name. And of course, this name will correlate with the stock symbol. So just type def, and I'm going to call it get underscore company underscore name, and it's going to input the symbol. Now, if that symbol, if it is AMZN, then the company that we want to return is Amazon. All right. Else if the symbol is TSLA, then I want to return Tesla. Else if the symbol is GOOG, then I want to return Alphabet. Okay, again, Alphabet is Google's parent company. Else, if it's none of those, then I'm just going to return none. And that's kind of doing a little bit of error handling there. All right, so that should do it for getting the company name. That function is done. The next thing that we need to do is going to be a big function. We need to create a function to basically get the correct data set. So we're going to get the proper company data and the proper time frame. So that's going to be from whatever the user's start date input is to the user's end date. Okay, so let's create this function. Just type def and then get underscore data, and this is going to take in the symbol, a start date. It's going to take in an end date. Okay, now the first thing that we need to do is load the data. So we have to check to see what stock symbol the user input. So if the symbol, and I'm going to put symbol dot upper, it's just doing some more error handling a little bit. If that is equal to AMZN, Then I'm going to create a data frame. So I'm going to create a variable called df, which is short for data frame, and I'm going to set it equal to pd dot read underscore csv, and I'm going to get that Amazon data file. So again, that's right here in the top left. I'm just going to right click here and then click on copy path, and then I'm going to come down here and paste it using Control V, and then of course change these slashes. Okay, so almost done there, and now we're done. So now to save some time, I'm just going to highlight it and copy this using Control C, and let's come down and paste it using Control V, and I'm going to do the same thing one more time, and that should do it. Okay, so here I'm going to change this to else if, and this time we're going to check for Tesla, which is TSLA, and if the symbol is Tesla, then we're going to get the tsla.csv file. So it's in the same location as the amazon.csv file. And I need to do the same thing for Google. So let's put elif here, and then goog, and then we're going to get the goog.csv file. Else, we don't know the symbol, right? So I'm just going to create a new data frame just for error handling. So I'm going to set df equal to pd dot data frame, there we go. And I'm going to set columns equal to, let's see, date, close. It's going to be the same columns in the data set. Open. There we go. So open. We have volume, adjusted close, and I may be missing a few more. So let's go back to that stock data set, and I'm going to scroll all the way up and just take a look at the columns. So it looks like I'm missing the high price and the low price. So let's go back to my program here, and let's put high and low. Okay, so I think that'll do it, and now we have the data. All right, so now that I have the data, the next thing that I want to do is get the date range. So here what we can do is we can put get the date range. So in order to do this, I need to convert that start date and that end date to date time data types. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm going to set start equal to pd.to underscore date time, and we're going to input start, and I'm going to do the same thing for end. I'm going to set it equal to pd.to underscore date time and input end, and now those two variables should be converted to date time data types. Okay. All right, so the idea is to basically find the index where the data will start after the user puts in their start date, and where it will end after the user puts in their end date. Okay, so I'm going to create some variables to hold that location right now. So we're going to set the start and end index rows both to 0. So let's go ahead and create those variables. Start underscore row will be one variable. I'm going to set it equal to 0, and the other one will be end underscore row, and I'm going to set that equal to 0 as well. All right, so what I want to do is I want to start the date, or I want to start looking at the date from the top of the data set and go down, or continue looking down to see if the user's start date is less than or equal to the date in the data set. All right, so if I just only check for the exact date, I may not find it because there may be some time period that the date wasn't recorded, and that would be because the stock market was closed for that day. So maybe it was a weekend, or maybe it was some holiday. So the stock, is not being recorded during those time because the stock market is not open. All right. So let's go ahead and continue. Make sure I have my thoughts here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a loop. So for I in range 0 to the length of the data set, we're going to loop through the data set, right? So what I want to do is I want to check if the start date is less than or equal to, and let me make sure I put that here. Go down to see if the user start date is, yes, less than or equal to. All right. If it's less than or equal to df at the date column at position I. Now, the only thing is I have to make sure that I'm comparing apples with apples, so they need to be the same data type. So I'm going to transform this to a date time data type as well. So just type pd dot date or pd dot to date time. I'm just going to highlight this and cut it using Control X and then paste it here using Control V, and that should do it. Now, if this is true, then we have found that index, that starting index. So I'm going to set start underscore row equal to position I. And right after I find it, I want to break out of this loop. Okay, so I want to end it. All right, so that will find the starting index. Next, I want to find the ending index. So I want to start looking at the date from the bottom. So start from the bottom of the data set and look up. So we're going to go up and we're going to go up to see if the user's end date is greater than or equal to the date in the data set. Okay. And up here I misspelled user, so I'm just going to change that. All right. So I think that that'll do it. All right, so let's create a loop for this. So for j in range 0 to the length of the data set, I want to check if the end date is greater than or equal to pd dot to underscore date time df date. So that's a date column at position, not j, but I want to start at the very bottom, the very last index, which is at position length of the data set -1. Okay, and then if I'm going to continuously look up and check for every date above that last date, I need to subtract j here. So that will allow us to look up the data set. Okay. All right. So if this is true, then we found that end row index. So end row is going to be equal to not j, but the length of the data frame -1 minus j. Okay. And then right after I find it, I want to break out of the loop. All right, that looks good. So now let's set the index to be the date. So we're going to set df equal to df dot set underscore index, and then we're going to type pd dot date time index, and we're going to input the date dot values. Okay, and now we're going to return the data set, but we want to return the data set at the location from start row, or yeah, at the location from start row to the end row, and I believe that's end row +1. I could be wrong. I could be off by 1 here. And then I want all of the columns. Alrighty. Okay, so everything looks good. Now we can go ahead and get the user's input. So we're going to create some variables: start, end, and symbol. I'm going to set it equal to the function that we created, which was get underscore input. And just like that, we have the input, or should have the input. Next, I'm going to get the data. So I'm going to create a variable called df and set it equal to get underscore data. And it's going to take in a symbol. It's going to take in the start date. It's going to take in the end date. And then I want to get the company name. So I'm going to create a variable called company underscore name and set it equal to get underscore company name. It's going to take in symbol, and I'm going to put symbol dot upper. All right, that's just to make sure that there's no errors if I were to accidentally put lowercase instead of capital case or uppercase. All right, so that looks good. All right, now let's go ahead and display the close price. So we're going to create a header for that. So just type st.header, and I'm going to input the company name, and I'm going to append it to close price. And I'm just going to put \n here, and then type st.line because I want to show the chart, the line chart, and I want to show the close price. So I'm going to put df close here, and then I'm going to just copy this by highlighting it and clicking on Control C, and then use Control V to paste it. And instead of close price here, now I'm going to display the volume. So I'm going to change close price here to volume, and do the same thing here to volume. So now that looks good. And I want to get some statistics on the data. So just type st.header, and I'm going to input data statistics, and then put st.write and put df.describe. Okay, and that should do it. So I'm going to save this using Control C, or by clicking Control S. I'm going to save it by clicking Control S. And now let's go ahead and click on the command prompt. All right, and I want to go ahead and run this program. So just type streamlit run, and I'm going to put the double quotes, and in between them I need to put the file path of the program I just created. So let's go over here. I'm going to right click on the Python file and click on copy path, and let's go here. There we go, and let's paste it. All right, and then I need to change a few things. So I need to change this slash here. All right, and almost done. Okay, now all I need to do is press enter, and then the application should load. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and press enter, and then unpause it when the application loads up. So I will see you all in a minute. Okay, so the application has loaded up, and let's take a look at it. So the first thing that we can see is that it has the stock market web application title. We can see the word visually is bold as expected with this nice subtitle here. We can see this image here, which looks really good. Next, we can see the closing price of Amazon, and we can see the volume of Amazon as well. And it looks like we have some errors here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to PyCharm, and let's see what's going on here. So I put stl.header, so let's just back that up, and I'm going to save this using Control S, and I'm going to go back to this application. I'm going to click here, it says rerun, so I'm going to rerun the application. And now if I scroll down, it looks like we have the data and statistics, which is good. And to the left here, we have the user input, the start date, and then the defaulted value for that, the end date label and the defaulted value for that, and stock symbol and the defaulted value for that. So let's test this a little bit, and let's change this stock symbol to TSLA, which is Tesla. Press enter, And now we can see that the data has changed accordingly, which is really, really good. Let's change it to Google, which is GOG. Press enter. And we can see that it now has Alphabet, which is again the parent company of Google. All right, so let's check for lowercase. So I'm gonna put AMZN here, all lowercase, and it looks like the program's still working properly. And I'm gonna put in some stock ticker that doesn't exist and press enter. And we do have an error here, so I'll probably check that later. Right now, none type string. All right, so that's okay. Let's go to AMZN, and everything looks good here. All right, so let's go ahead and check the start date and the end date and see if the data changes accordingly. So I'm going to change this start date range to March 2nd, 2020 to the end date August 4th. So we can see that the data did change immediately. And let's change this to July. So 7/4 and press enter. All right, and everything looks good. I'm going to zoom out and make sure that, yeah, there we go. So you can see that it didn't end on July 4th. It actually ended on July 2nd. Let's take a look at August 4th. All right, just to make sure that I'm not off by one. So press enter, zoom out, and there we go. So yes, it is good. I'm not off by one here. It's just that I guess for July 4th, it must not have been a day that any data was recorded. And everything else looks really good other than that error. If somebody were to put some random message here, there is a problem which I could address right now, but I don't think it's that important, so I won't be addressing it within this video. So that's it. We are done creating this program. I will leave a link to the code along with the data set down below through my Patreon. So if you want to check that out, you can click on that link. And I want you to please hit that like button and that subscribe button and leave comments letting me know what you think about Streamlit, because I think it's really amazing that you can make these dashboards so quickly using Streamlit. So I want to know your thoughts on that. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.